So one thing is this, I think this is actually important, because the reason we're doing this is that people asked, how do you really meditate, they wanted more guidance on how to actually meditate. And so one thing that's very, helpful to do is to use an outline. Remember, because Lama Tsongkhapa, and we've already covered this, that he says, in other words, if you, from the very beginning, meaning on this topic, and then all the way through the Lam Rim, if you don't know what topic you're meditating on, you get the stuff confused. And Pabonka Rinpoche gives an example where he says, when you're training in faith, right, which is one of the headlines, one of the top topics of meditation, if suddenly you start mixing in, reflecting on the respect for the Guru's kindness, he says, then you've got the order mixed up and you're not meditating right, and you're going to end up confused. So he points out, he says, you have to do it systematically. And so, if you want to have the right result, that's what he's saying. Right? And he says, and if you do that, if you get them all mixed up at this stage, then you're going to keep having them mixed up for the whole rest of the Lam Rim, and then you won't make progress, and then you'll be frustrated, is kind of what he's pointing out. So I just want to encourage you to do a couple things for your own practice. Like, this is, you can use the book itself, or you can use another text. What I do is, usually I'll do something like this, where I'll draw out just, an outline, so that I remember, okay, well, next this. Because if you start meditating, if you start really reflecting deeply on a topic, then you have to come back and go, oh, what's the next one sometimes? And it's helpful to have a guide there. A couple of things I just want to, in case people get confused, that I want to point out I'm going to do. One is, in Lama Tsongkhapa's text, on reliance on the spiritual teacher, in terms of the actual meditation topics, remember he goes through how to analyze if someone is the correct, is a good fit, is a good teacher, and so on. And then he does the topics. All the topics we're going to do, he does. He does them in a different order, though. He does them in the order, in this text, of first training in faith. Like he starts with the two methods of, how to rely on the spiritual teacher, and then how to rely mentally, which includes how to train in faith, and then remembering the Guru's kindness and developing respect. And then he has how to rely on action or deeds. And then after that, he presents the benefits of reliance and the faults of not relying. I'm going to put the benefits of relying and the faults of not relying first, before those other topics. I'm not doing that, I'm not making it up myself. That's the oral tradition coming from Lama Tsongkhapa, that's how they do it. Pabonka Rinpoche, in his commentary on this text, does it that order. And then Khenchen Rinpoche suggests doing it in that order, and also Lama Zopa Rinpoche suggests doing it in that order. So it's not me making it up. And there's a reason. There's a reason that Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Khenchen Rinpoche give for doing it that way, actually, which is psychological. So that's why I thought it's interesting. Is what they say is, if you meditate on the benefits of reliance and the faults of not relying first, you'll develop enthusiasm and energy for this. And then it will be more powerful to do the other meditations. So they're saying, when actually sitting down to do the meditation itself, they found it more effective, right? The oral, sort of coming down through the lineage of Lama Tsongkhapa, they found it more effective to do it in that order in actual practice. So that's why we do it that way. If you want to do it in the other order, that's okay. It's not faulty to do it in the order that Lama Tsongkhapa presented it in. But it's also acceptable to do it this way. And if you look in the commentaries, most people in actual practice presented that other order just for this effectiveness, psychological reason. One other thing I'm not going to do, actually, was I just thought this was interesting, since I'm going about this topic of outlines, which again are very important on a practical level if you're doing this practice, is that's one thing I'm just changing a bit. Otherwise, it's going to be the same as Lama Tsongkhapa's points, and that's the same. It's just a different order. The other thing that I thought was interesting, that we'll do it in the order Lama Tsongkhapa presents this because it's traditional, but on the topic of training in faith, I'll just mention this. There are 4 main points. I'll read them. Vajradhara said the Guru is the Buddha. The Guru performs the enlightened activities of all the Buddhas. Even now in these degenerate times, the Buddha is working for sentient beings, and our perceptions are unreliable, we can't trust them. That's the order that's traditionally done in Lama Zopa Rinpoche only. He specifically says, for Westerners, it's sometimes more useful to reverse the order of those. Psychologically, he found that that's sometimes more useful. We could reverse it. It's up to you guys, actually. I don't care. but Pabon Rinpoche and Khenpo Rinpoche, other lamas always presented the same order, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche says for Tibetans it's better in that order, and Lama Zopa, it's like traditionally presented in that order. He just kind of wonders out loud at one teaching where he says for Westerners, I think it's because if the first for somebody who automatically has faith in Vajradhara, having the first reason be Vajradhara said this has like an impact, right? But I think what Lama Zopa Rinpoche is saying is for people who are like he's not meaning all Westerners. I think he's meaning like, well, who's Vajradhara? So, then it becomes, the other order becomes maybe more psychologically effective. But I think we'll just do it in the traditional order because sort of